Hello, good day. Have you ever thought of becoming a pilot? If so, there are many approaches that can help you reach this goal. Um, my name is Justin Berggren, and I've been a pilot since 2015. I got my bachelor's degree in aviation, and I'm currently finishing my Master of Aeronautical Science. I did my private pilot at a Part 61 flight school and did the remainder of my training at Part 141 flight schools. I've been a CFII for nearly a year and a corporate pilot flying a SR-22. Standardization impacts safety, which in turn impacts the society, and therefore has become a huge deal for my implementation project. This has allowed me to serve others and promote ethical and moral decision making in an effort to maintain and increase safety. So my capstone revolved around the question of standardization and how it affects safety. I was originally under the impression that the standardization provided by a Part 141 flight school would provide greater safety for pilots finishing their flight training than a Part 61 flight school would. I believe that implementing the standard operating procedure would allow the organization to follow the path of God and follow His values while pursuing the dream of flight. I believe that the SOP would help students achieve the correlation level of learning and for more aspects of flight. And finally, I believe that the SOP would help safety standards to increase and be maintained. So first, we need an understanding of 14 CFR Part 61 verse 141. 61 has minimal structure. It's basically the requirements that is set forth for applicants to become a rated pilot. It allows applicants to learn at their own pace, which is helpful for those that are pursuing school or work on the side. Students can pick their flight instructors, and that it can be quite flexible. Some downsides to 61 is that depending on the license being sought, it can, in some circumstances, require more hours than what would be required in 141 training. For those that need more or additional structure, this would not be something that would be advisable. And one benefit is that it can be found at just about any airport in the U.S. or I guess globally. 141, Part 141 provides more of a strict structure. It's a training curriculum that's followed during flight training, and there's not really any deviation that's allowed from it. It's great for full-time, career-oriented pilots that want to get this training done, and it's not quite as useful for those that have a full-time job or schooling on the side because it is quite demanding compared to Part 61. What's nice is licenses may be accomplished in fewer hours depending on the license, and it can be quite fast-paced, which can really be beneficial. It may not be available at all airports, and students may not have the choice of their instructor. So, for my research, I focused on ethical and moral values, the value of knowledge and primacy, as well as treating others with respect. So, Matthew 5:42 proclaims that it says to give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. And then, for me, this is important because you're asking for help, and clearly you're asking for help here. So it's important as a Christian to offer that help. Quinn, 2017, he explained how the Air Florida Flight 90 experienced a disaster after its lack of adherence to standard operating procedures due to ice accumulation resulted in the disaster, and how following the SOP may have mitigated that accident. And then in addition, Futrell from 1958 explained how moral training and teaching scripture absolutely must be paired together to learn to serve others in primary training. The value of knowledge and primacy is supported by Proverbs 1:5, which proclaims to let the wise listen and add to their learning, and let the discerning get guidance. And this is from the New International Version. Aviation is an ever-changing and can be a dangerous industry. It demands proficiency and safety. This is only obtained by learning correctly the first time, which is the theory of primacy. And I believe that, in addition, recurrent training is an absolute necessity, which supports the value of knowledge. Kluge et al., 2019, explained that work-related stress can significantly impact cognitive performance. And he elaborated that a standard operating procedure can mitigate these factors. And this was a primary focus for my capstone there. Treating others with respect, Yount and Charter, 2012, explained how Scripture is eternal, infallible revelation of God, guiding Christians to seek what is right and just. Following the path laid by the Lord will ensure that Christians and aviators alike will treat others how they would like to be treated. So, developing this attitude from the flight training right at the beginning is essential in order to ensure that this will continue through the flight career. And it extends to equipment as well. Valuing and respecting the aircraft is essential. Providing students with adequate instruction is essential for flight instructors. Schmidt, 2021, explained that greater performance can be achieved through the implementation of a standardized operating procedure. So, out of the research, I found that contradicting my original capstone question, expecting that 141 would have greater safety standards than Part 61, Knecht and Smith, 2013, found during their FAA study that the type of flight school that a student went through training with did not actually have an effect on the aviation safety record. Between 2003 and 2007, for general aviation pilots that graduated from 141 versus Part 61 flight training, they actually had just about the same statistics of accident rates post-training. And so therefore the structure may or may not have provided a great change in the safety consideration. However, I still believe that standardized operating procedures did help the organizations achieve greater success to accomplish their specific operational goals. So for my implementation project, I was able to develop a standardized operating procedure for fly-right aviation, a Part 61 flight school in Nevada. I've always been dedicated to safety, and as I became a pilot, that in turn rolled into aeronautical safety as well. Working at a Part 61 flight school as a flight instructor, I found that none of the flight instructors or the students had a uniform way of executing operational tasks. It seemed to affect the safety as well as the courage of the pilots, especially young private pilots who didn't really know what they were looking at during a pre-flight. Sure, they were told, look to make sure that look over the aircraft and this is the way it should look, and then when it's not looking this way, they're not really trained on what is good or bad. And so I aim to create an SOP that mirrored a Part 141 flight school's operating procedure to help the students, instructors, and the organization achieve greater success towards all their goals. Implementing policy that would help students and instructors make more educated decisions in line with the organizational preferences when faced with aircraft discrepancies was essential for me. Because all is good when the aircraft is operating correctly, when everything is working out. And that's not really what we're concerned about. What we're concerned about is when the student gets out to the aircraft and something's not correct, such as maybe there's a bald spot on a tire, or a flat tire, or in the cowling there's a screw missing, or there's 10 missing. And what I was able to do was implement a procedure that would evaluate all of these different discrepancies with the aircraft and help the student make a go or no-go decision, as well as provide a structure that would report the discrepancy and give it an opportunity to be fixed. So it was broken into the development and then the implementation stages, where first I studied the ASA Part 141 curriculum and requirements, and this allowed me, with the help of Mr. Magana, my mentor, to help me develop the standard operating procedure. We focused primarily on the emergency procedures as well as the aircraft discrepancies. Through the implementation, I was able to put my effort into the instructors, into the students, and help them actually execute the standard operating procedure. And so when a discrepancy had been found, they now had the proper channels to fix it or get it fixed. The influences that I've received through the implementation project is how it's influenced my capstone question. It hasn't. It absolutely supported my idea that the standard operating procedure will help maintain safety. Although it may not have a major impact beyond the educational environment, I firmly believe that within the educational environment it is a huge bonus. So, Psalm 32:8 proclaims that I will instruct you and teach you in the way that you should go. I will counsel you with my eye upon you, from the King James Bible. And so only with the guidance of the Lord can we achieve success and safety. The standard operating procedure works to ensure that this happens. In addition, Proverbs 22:6 proclaims to train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it, supporting the idea of primacy. 1 Corinthians 14:40 proclaims that, but all things should be done decently and in order, from the King James Bible. And utilizing the SOP in flight training will ensure that it has been done decently and in order. Although Knet, and Smith from 2013 found that there is no statistical proof that an SOP creates safer pilots with greater safety awareness, I believe that biblical concepts argue the opposite, that structure is absolutely key for success and safety. Rance et al. 2013 found that effective communication and proper feedback is essential to promote learning. And this was worked into my standard operating procedure to ensure that every lesson had the pre-flight brief and the post-flight debrief. Impressing the importance to create an SOP to promote safe operation of the aircraft, Mendonca et al. 2017 also explained that respecting the equipment is essential for safety. And then finally, Mr. Magana as well explained his importance of respecting the equipment, because if you don't, you may not be able to make it home safely. The main points were the ethical and moral considerations to promote safety and develop pilots that are consciously considering others. Valuing knowledge to promote primacy and ensure safety by maintaining recurrent training is essential to create a safe air travel industry. Treating others with respect as well as the equipment with respect follows the biblical worldviews. And following the standard operating procedure promotes safety within the organization and helps achieve the desired goals of the individual and the company. So together, maintaining a biblical worldview is essential to ensure aviation remains a respected, proficient, and safety-oriented industry. So concluding, whether you're at a 141 flight school, well, if you're at a 141, I'm sure you'd have a standard operating procedure because it's mandated, but if you're at a Part 161 flight school, my question is, does your flight school have an SOP and does it operate by it? And if not, it could be worth your while and the students' while to implement one, to develop one and implement. So thank you for listening. This has been a really good project that I've been able to complete, and it's really nice to still see how the safety standards are developing as the time progresses. Thank you.